Welcome to Coming Clean, a podcast that provides a safe place for people to be real and authentic about their struggles to overcome addiction and mental illness. This is the perfect place to share stories of triumph and tragedy with millions of other people who are secretly wrestling with demons that are destroying their lives.
The podcast will be educational and informative and will provide hope and inspiration by lighting a path to recovery that promises a better life. My name is Peter Estevez, and this is my friend and co-host,
Dr. Steve Farber, and I'd like to welcome you to today's episode.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Coming Clean Podcast, a safe place to bring awareness to addiction, depression, mental illness, or simply any social taboo. This platform is intended to help those interested in a journey from darkness into the light of self-reconstruction. If you listen to the similarities instead of the differences, you will eventually hear a story from one of our guests that will guide you into the light of freedom. And today, our guest, our very special and dear guest, is a good friend, Matt Gale. Matt, welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for being here with us today, and thank you for your willingness to share your story with our community.
Amen. I appreciate it. I'm grateful to be here to share it, and to just let us know what I love. I've always grown up loving stories and hearing people's journeys. I'm a people watcher, and so I enjoy, I wonder what's their story, what have they gone through, and I love your opening because there really is so many things that we have in common that are similar, that connect us more so than keeps us apart, and that's different. And so thank you. Your podcast is amazing. I've been listening to some of the different stories in there and of resiliency and tenacity and not giving up. And so I'm just honored to be a part of that.
Well, you're one of those stories, and you know what? I'm going to go back and tell the story of how we met.
Yes.
Because first of all, we met at Lisa Nichols' Mastermind,
Yes.
Speakers Mastermind.
Speakers Mastermind, yes.
And while you were there as part of the event and part of one of Lisa's facilitators, you actually share your story on the stage. Actually, Lisa shared your story, and then you went back on stage. But I remember Lisa sharing the story of how you were so persistent into wanting to get into becoming part of her team that you actually went to one of her events without a ticket.
Right.
You jumped the fence.
So I actually, I had seen her. She wouldn't leave me alone for quite some time. She kept showing up on television. And
meaning she would not leave you alone, that the universe was connecting you with her.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like, she wasn't physically there,
yes,
but
yes,
the universe
yes.
just showed up all the time. And I saw her on television shortly thereafter. And we'll talk about kind of where I was at that time when she was showing up. And she just kept showing up. And I knew, I had a sense of this was a woman, or this was a person that I was going to get my healing from. So I had a ticket actually to the show, but we were running late. We weren't going to be able to get in. We ended up going into the filming of her show. She was filming a pilot at the time, and I wanted to meet her after the show was done. And I went up to go talk to her, and the security guard stopped me.
How old were you at the time?
Ooh, I was in my 20s, so I was, I would say probably 27, 28.
Okay.
And I was very determined to meet her. Like I said, I'd seen her on television. I had read The Secret. I had seen her in the movie there. And she was literally feet within reach. And so when the security guard stopped me, I said, I just need to talk to her for a couple minutes. And he said, I'm sorry, it's for VIP only. And I was like, and I don't take no very easily. So when he, gave me the polite escort out the door, I had a friend of mine distract the security guard. And I climbed the back of the seating area and climbed the wall and came down and landed in front of her and was like, hi, Lisa, my name is Matt. And you keep showing up in my life, and I know what you do, and I want to be a part of your mission and what you're doing. And that was around empowering youth, because I wanted to share my story. But what I didn't know is the healing that was on the other side of learning how to share my story.
Wow, that is powerful. I don't want to minimize who you are. So before we go on, I want to read your your bio.
Yes.
Your bio is very powerful, and you have a tendency, because of your humility, to speak very little about you. So allow me to do that for you today. Okay, so I'm going to share your bio with our community. Matt is recognized as a powerful, impactful, and soul-stirring speaker. And yes, he is. I actually heard him myself. Coach, media host, and an author of an international best-selling book, Got It, Get It, and Give It. Readers were inspired as Matt shared his journey of self-love, acceptance, and ultimately extending in his greatness by sharing his experience and lessons with his audience. With over 24 years experience in training and development, serving, educating, empowering multitudes of personal, professional industries, Matt empowers humanity to identify, develop, and execute in their strengths and passion. His extensive, recognized, and rewarding experience as a trainer and coach, developing and delivering curriculum for companies such as Kmart, Red Robin International, Six Flags, and Disney, and most recently, motivating the masses as Lisa Nichols' company. Life in faith, operate in flow and experience the freedom of living the abundant, beautiful experience designed for you. Yes. welcome,
Thank
Matt,
you, thank
again. You know, that is a powerful resume, and one of the things that always caught my attention after meeting you in person was your sense of humility. And although you played a major role behind the scenes with Lisa Nichols,
Yes.
you never overshadow. You never abuse your power. You always show restraint and always allow Lisa to shine behind the scenes. And, you know, that's a great sense of humility. You know, I am not sure that I have the ability to have such humility. And I tell you that with great admiration and with great respect, because it takes a lot of restraint to be able to be around in such a powerful position, in a sense of being able to meet her contacts, meet the power.
I think, and I appreciate that, and I receive that. Thank you. I believe that the humility comes in I remained a student. So as much as I was a teacher, a coach, a facilitator, I always was a student. Every time, you know, for those that aren't familiar with Lisa, when you YouTube her or Google her, she's always dropping knowledge, and she is so connected as a coach, as a motivational speaker, as just a phenomenal woman who's gone through her own journey to get to where she is. That as she educates and as she connects with people, I wanted to know, what is it that she's doing? How is it that she's saying it? What are the techniques? What are the tools? What are the ways that she stays connected to be able to share her message and impact people? And that's what I know my life is about. I know that who I am, who Matt Gill is about impact. It's about empowering people. It's also about entertaining people as well.
Well, absolutely.
And so the humility comes in the sense of I did get to see a lot, and I'm very grateful for every single experience, the highs, the lows, the peaks, the valleys, because within that, I got to see what felt good for me as I began to build, as the things that I want to do, the things that I don't want to do. And so I'm grateful for that journey. I'm grateful for, you know, when you read the bio, I sit back sometimes and I'm in awe because I've been able to travel the world. We've been in Dubai and Portugal and Canada and Mexico and Brazil and be able to impact people. But yet I, in my mind, think of the 22-year-old that was walking the streets of Hollywood, you know, tweaked out, 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 days up with no sleep. Like, in my mind, I had to I remember that person.
And let's go back to that. Our platform, our community, Coming Clean, primarily talks about social taboos, addiction recovery,
right,
and self-reconstruction. And you certainly have done all of them in different stages. But why is it that even with the world of accomplishments, it's so hard for us to receive what we have accomplished and be able to use it as a gift to share with the world? Now, we're willing to give it away. We are willing to give it away.
Right.
We're willing to share it with the world. But at the same time, it's almost for us, it's almost like it's surreal. It's almost like it's never happened to us. We just continue moving along. And you and I were talking about that a minute ago, and I want to
Right.
go into that a little bit longer, because one of the things that I think is important for us is to be able to educate people. How do we transition to valuing who we are?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
It's easy to stay in the judgment. It's easy to stay in the experience of who we used to be and hold ourselves in there. Like, forget, my biggest journey was going from my mind to my heart. My heart and my soul and who I am. That's where I operate. But my mind has the evidence of everything that didn't work, of all of the bad decisions. Like, we have this chatter that's constantly playing. When we get a new idea or we get something that we want to achieve, a new relationship, a new goal, our mind automatically goes to the negative. It goes to that file cabinet of all the times that it didn't work. And so the biggest job that I had to do, and I believe most of us have to do, is learn to manage that conversation. Learn to manage what happens when that negative chatter comes up. What happens when we start to go back into our stories of who we used to be? Not that we want to go there, but our mind judges ourselves. You know, we're our worst critics.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
other people will give us praise and tell us, you know, how great we are, and we're like, "Ooh, if you only knew."
Right, right,
Right?
right.
And so our mind, we have all of this evidence of when it didn't work. The biggest task is learning how to manage when that evidence shows up and go through and change it from a negative chatter to a powerful chatter. And the only way that you do that is by celebration more often. And celebrating your journey, celebrating the progress, celebrating, man, you know what? I didn't want to get out of bed today, but I got out of bed. And now I'm being productive. Like, that's sometimes a celebration.
How do you celebrate your accolades? I mean, you have an impressive resume. You travel the world with Lisa. You cater to literally thousands of people across the world.
Yes.
You guys have changed and transformed millions or thousands of lives. How do you recognize yourself for what you did so you can take that to the next level?
So it's still work in progress. In all truth, I'm still there. I'm still learning how to celebrate, and part of it is one, hearing it more often. You know, being able to hear it from somebody else's. Like, sometimes when I hear my bio, it's like, wow.
Is that me?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you're like, whoa, and they're inside in kind of a cheesy kind of corny way. It's kind of like, wow, yeah, I did do that. It's almost like we forget. We go from task to task, and we go from moment to moment, and we don't celebrate what we just did because now we have something else to do. You know, on your phone, on your calendar, you've got appointments, you've got projects, you've got task lists, punch lists.
And of course, we also have the imposter syndrome that plays a big role in who
Oh,
we are.
yes.
Okay, that we're not deserving of who we are, and at what point is somebody going to discover that I'm not as smart as they think that I am? So we also, as a culture, we also have to deal with a lot of that stuff.
I totally believe it.
Now let's talk about your journey. We did the quick intro, and we talked about how you climbed the fence. But tell us exactly what you did with Lisa. What was your role? What has your life been like in the past 7 years?
So perfect. So we'll even take it back to when I first started. It started with Motivating the Teen Spirit.
Okay.
Motivating the Teen Spirit is a program designed to teach teens how to fall madly in love with themselves, how to learn what it means to make an integrity-based decision, learn how to put words to your feelings, and learn how to take accountability for choices that they're making, the good and the bad. And at the time when I was exposed to Motivating the Teen Spirit, I was in a place of trying to heal myself. I was looking for answers. I was looking for, how do I get past the guilt? How do I get past the shame? And then how do I turn those experiences into something to help other people? And what I love about Motivating the Teen Spirit is, one, it's not adults talking to teens and talking, to them, and you got to do this and you got to
Or
do that.
at them.
Right. We create a safe space, a space of no judgment towards each other, so we can open up, we can talk about what's really going on, what our feelings are, in an environment of I'm not going to judge you for what you've done, But most importantly, I'm not going to judge myself. And that was the biggest key, because we judge ourselves all the time.
Absolutely.
And so being able to create a space where the teen can go through and talk about what's happening and not judge themselves for, you know what, I really screwed up. I really shouldn't have gone off on my parents like that, or I shouldn't have run away, or I shouldn't have gotten high that one time. Like, I didn't want to go to that party, whatever that may be. You know, that a space of just, it happened. So let's move forward. Let's talk about it. Let's move forward. So no judgment, no repercussions. What's said between us stays between us and is not brought up unless it's designed to encourage, support, or move forward. Like, that's powerful.
Absolutely.
Like, we don't talk about things because, one, you know, we're afraid, are we going to be judged? And then sometimes we told somebody something, and then all of a sudden they told somebody else, and then the rumors, and then the story changes. And so we hold that in. And so when you're in a space of no judgment, of no repercussions, and then expressing unconditional love, like, I'm going to love you through your ugly. Wow. You just created a space to just open up into, this is what this is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that almost sounds like a 12-step program.
Yeah.
It sounds like this is the basis of a 12-step program. You know, as you know, I've been in recovery for 19 years.
Right.
And
Congratulations.
thank you. I got sober through a 12-step program. And in those meetings, we're able to say anything we want, whatever comes up.
Right.
Okay. I mean, and there's people there from all walks of life. Mm-hmm. There is no judgment.
Right.
You know, you can have a federal judge on one side, and you can have the guy that just did 10 years in the pen on the other.
Yeah.
Okay. You can have a heart surgeon, and you can have, you know, a mechanic on the other side. So there's no societal demographics in there that come into place. We're all equal.
Right.
And I often share in those meetings that if we were to share some of the stories that we share in there in our neighborhood, our neighbors would never talk to us.
Right.
I mean, they would sign a petition for us to get out of the neighborhood.
Exactly.
Okay. And the reason that particular program has worked so well is because there is no judgment.
Yeah.
Because there is unconditional love. Because they do love us through our ugly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Or they do love us until we are able to love ourselves.
Exactly. And that's where Motivating the Teen Spirit provides that for youth. For anywhere from the ages of as young as 10 we've had in the room, going up to college years, you know, stepping into being a young adult, you know, and going through and leaving home for the first time, and the pressures. And the thing is youth today are exposed to so much stuff. Now, I don't consider myself old. I am in my 40s, but I, like, when I talk about the
no, you have a young heart.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I'm a big kid. I'm a
yes.
total big kid. I'm a big kid in
I am
a
too.
doll body.
Yeah. I mean, look at my red shoes.
Right. Which I was telling him he's got some dope shoes, by the way. I was like, imagine being a youth and being able to have that space. I wish that I knew of something like this when I was a teen, to be able to just go in and to connect. And that's what we hear from our graduates of the program. You know, they look forward to, when's the next MTS? When's the next workshop? And what I love is Motivating the Teen Spirit has touched the lives of over 270,000 teens worldwide. We prevented over 3,754 teen suicides.
Wow.
We have brought back countless families back together and put students back into the school systems. Because we're emotional healthiness, emotional literacy. If you think about a high school, you think about elementary school, you're taught all of the different literacies. You're taught your math, your history, your science. The one thing that you don't get taught in school is, how do you manage your emotions? How do you imagine or how do you manage your hurt when your parents are fighting at home and there's chaos going on? Or how do you manage the feeling of being alone, and then you're supposed to sit inside of a classroom and focus on something and learn something brand new when your mind isn't even there?
And I'm gonna go back to the detrimental damage that chaos that happens in the household, the direct effect that it has on a child.
Yes.
And I'm going to go back to that because I wrote a book called From Lies to Riches, which actually releases this coming April.
Nice.
And it's 13 Steps to a Healthy Life in Recovery. but what I have done is correlated the 12 steps of recovery. And in each step, I write a chapter. And in addition to the chapter, I correlate where that particular step took place in my life. First step, for example, in recovery is we are powerless over, in my case, powerless over alcohol. And as a result, my life became unmanageable.
Right.
Okay. And I want to relate that to what you just said about those children, the chaos at home, and how they begin very early on to look for escapisms.
Right.
They look for ways to escape because they hear their mom and dad fighting in the other room.
Right.
They're trying to cover their head with their pillow, but they hear the screaming, they hear the loud, and automatically the children don't think there's a conflict between mom and dad. They think it's a conflict against the parents against the children.
Yeah, exactly.
They immediately relate.
They take it, yep.
That they make it personal.
Exactly.
It's about them. I'm not wanted. I'm not.
Exactly.
This is not a. Not only that, but it also expands to the fact that they feel my life is unmanageable. My life is chaotic.
Yeah.
Okay. So immediately their life, they're powerless over the circumstances because as a young kid, as a young boy, as a young girl, what can you do? When
They
you
have
hear-
no say over
you
what's
have no
happening.
say.
Exactly.
You have no power.
Exactly.
You're zero. And especially in very dysfunctional homes. And especially in our cultures.
And there's no communication as to from a parent side, you know, to the youth and letting them know that it's not their
It's
fault,
not
that
about
it has
them.
nothing to, because
Yeah.
there's so much, the emotion is so high within the home.
Right.
And so there's no communication as to how to manage that even in the home.
Yeah. So those emotions carry on into the school, into
Exactly.
their personal social life, and that's where the fights, the
Yep.
conflicts, promiscuity, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and
Right.
everything develops from. So you're exactly right.
Well, and that's where we even get bullying from.
Absolutely.
Bullying comes from because somebody can take control. So they find somebody that's weaker than themselves,
Right.
so that they feel that they have control.
Right.
I mean, there's all kinds of different things that occur as a result of what's happening
Yeah.
in the home.
Yeah, and I wanted to correlate that to the importance of being able to help children and even adults process the symptoms.
Right,
That
right.
we overlook, that we, you know, and I remember my father, for example, if I felt a certain way and I would try to tell him how I felt, oh, man up.
Hey, oh,
Don't be
yes,
a sissy.
Yes.
Don't be a sissy.
Yep.
Boys don't cry.
Boys don't cry, right.
You know, hit me in the back of the head, just move on. Mm-hmm. And I got worse because now I learned how to speak up.
Right. You silence your voice.
I silenced my voice.
Yep.
I had no voice.
Exactly.
Okay. So tell us a little bit more about your journey there.
Yeah, so it was what I was drawn to about Motivating the Teen Spirit was the space that it created, and as I began to learn the curriculum, as I began to learn the lessons, I was able to do the work as a facilitator, as any coach should do. You have to do the work for yourself first, and so I began to heal my own journey, my own decisions. I grew up in an amazing family. I've got two phenomenal parents. My father was the assistant fire chief for LA County Fire Department. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. Grew up in a very loving, supportive home. I was involved in student council and just really active in school. And on the outside, really looked happy. On the inside, I just felt disconnected. I didn't know who I was, what I wanted. I knew what I wanted to do. I just had all these emotions that I didn't know who to talk to. In junior high and high school, I had made a transition. We moved from Los Angeles area to this small town called Tehachapi, which is up in Kern County. Very smaller town, so I didn't know anybody, didn't have any friends, and so I was just trying to find me. Mm-hmm. As soon as I graduated high school, I came into Hollywood and back to LA, and got caught up in just the hustle and bustle and the lights and the fast life and the partying, and still trying to find myself. Trying to, who is Matt and what does he want to do and who does, just that journey. I was introduced to crystal meth, and it created a sense of invincibility. I could do anything. I could talk to anybody. I could be anything that I wanted. It allowed for me to tap into a space of creativity that I hadn't felt. But most importantly, I didn't have to feel. a whole lot. I wasn't feeling my emotions. I wasn't feeling that hurt. I wasn't feeling the shame. I wasn't feeling all of the struggle that I felt. Like there was this fake falsehood that was being created, and I could create whatever I wanted because I was high. And so I began to numb myself. I didn't like this one person who I thought I was, but I knew that I could create because of this drug, because of this sense of this new feeling, this new whatever it was. And it wasn't even a feeling. It was just I was high. I was just not thinking. And so I was using crystal meth for 6.5 years.
In reality, you were disconnected from reality.
Oh yes, for sure.
And that created an illusion that you were powerful.
Right.
Until you came down.
Oh yeah. And I was 5'10", 125 pounds. My face was sucked in. My skin tone had even changed color. I'm very fortunate that I didn't, I wasn't one of the tweakers that were stealing from people. So I was very functional. People who knew me knew that something was going on. And they were concerned. They just thought, well, maybe he's sick or.
How old were you when this happened? When you got involved in addiction?
It was in my 20s.
In your 20s, and what was your introduction to crystal meth? How did you get introduced to it? What happened?
We were going out one night. We were going out to a club, and a friend of mine had given me. They're like, "Do you want to chase the dragon?" And I remember that phrase, "Do you want to chase a dragon?" And I was like, well, "What's that?" They're like, just try this. And so on a aluminum foil, had melted the crystal and just inhaled. And there was such this euphoric rush of like, wow, and just this tingle in my body. And I loved it. It gave me so much energy. And after we had gone out and we had gone to the club and we came back and we were still, smoking it. So I smoked it. I did some lines, but my preference was smoking. It gave me a sense of, like I said, invincibility. What I also appreciated about it at the time was it gave me a lot of energy. It allowed for me to what I thought was focus on something. So I would be able to go to work and I would get a whole lot of stuff done. I wasn't hungry. So in my head, I thought, oh, this is a great weight loss program.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously I wouldn't recommend it, but I thought, I'm not hungry. So, and then I said, let me be smart about it. So I would get a protein shake, or I would get, go to like Jamba Juice or something and be like, oh, my body's getting the nutrients, but now I'm not eating. Because I wanted to I didn't love me. I didn't love this physical body that I was in. So I wasn't eating, but I was losing weight. So in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm doing something good for myself.
Sure.
Like, it's a tricky drug.
Now, let me ask you a question. Where does that lack of self-love come from? I mean, you talked about having great parents, a great mom, stay-home mom, a father that's functional.
Yep.
You have a brother. So there was no dysfunction in your home.
Right.
Where does this lack of love, where does this lack of self-worth come from? Where does Matt is unable to find that love for himself? Why? And for me, it's very difficult to see that, Matt, because you're such a giving and caring person. And I see you interact with people. I've seen you interact with thousands of people, literally. And I see how people love you. But how is it that somebody that is so loved by others cannot love himself? Or couldn't love himself?
It's a really great question. And I don't think, honestly, I don't think I've ever thought of that question or even asked myself that. I know that one was learning to be confident. I was very, very judgmental towards myself. I was unemployed at that point. I had lost my job because I had called in sick too many times. And I was turning on the television and I would watch TV all day. And it was one time at noon, I saw the Starting Over house. And there was this lady there and she was coaching. She was coaching women who were going through whatever challenges. Some of them were past relationships, not loving themselves, all these different issues. And this coach was working with them. And as she worked with him and I watched them, I was like, wow, I need to meet this lady. Fast forward, a friend of mine gave me The Secret. And as I watched the movie The Secret, there was that lady again. And that was Lisa Nichols.
Okay.
That was her. And that's why I said she kept showing up.
Yes,
because it was at that time that I was like, something's got to change. In my friend's apartment watching that, I saw he used to have this mirror, kind of like the TV here, down on the ground. And as I walked past it, I looked at myself. And I was looking at myself at 125 pounds. My face so sucked in. I was a 28 waist was too big. Like I had the belt and I would like tighten it up in there just to keep my pants up. And I thought I felt sexy, by the way. Like I thought I was like Ricky Martin. I was like, I look good.
Yeah.
But I was so warped.
Yeah. Delusional.
So warped. Yeah,
delusional.
And that's when I heard a voice that said, "This is not who you are." And when I heard that voice, I fell to my knees and I just cried. And I had walked away from any type of spirituality. And I just prayed. I said, "God, if you're still there, get me out of this." And that began the journey of personal development, of learning to get past the guilt, the shame, the hurt, the frustration.
Matt, did you stop cold turkey?
Yeah.
So you stopped cold turkey. You didn't go through rehab.
No.
You didn't go through a 12-step program.
Nope.
So your journey has been self-managed, self-development.
I was blessed with the. I did something really radical. I took my phone and I threw it away.
Okay.
And I knew that the people that I needed to stay in contact with, I'd be able to get them. The only number that I knew by heart was my parents and my brother. And so I just started over. So I left Hollywood, and I was blessed with 3 incredible angels. My brother, who was also on his own journey with the same drug. He had children. He had 3 kids, and he went on his what I like to call an extended vacation. And I became a parent for those children. They became my reason to stay clean. Yeah, to get my life together. Wow. So it was, God orchestrated it all beautifully because.
So you hit your bottom.
Yep.
Your brother is in heavy in the throes of addiction.
Yes.
And he gets involved in some legal problems and ends up going away for a while.
Yep.
And he has 3 children that he leaves behind.
Yep. They were 4, 2, and 9 months at the time.
Wow.
And
so you become their guardian.
My parents and I became the guardians. And so I left Hollywood. I went to my parents' house. Okay. And my mom and I would take turns. I would do the night shift because I'm a night owl. I like being up. And so my mom would take care of them during the daytime. I would take care of them at nighttime. And we were training them, at four, just all of the stuff that she had seen. They were exposed to quite a lot at a young age.
So when was the last time you used?
Ooh, this is probably 15 years ago.
So 15 years sober.
Yeah.
And you raised the 3 children.
Yeah. So I had them for 3.5 years. Okay. And then my brother, during that time, he was getting himself together. He was doing his different programs. My parents have a guest house, so he got to live in the guest house.
Okay.
Go to his classes. So he was still very connected. I was actually doing stuff with the kids. I built them their own kindergarten and was teaching them stuff and taking them on trips. And they were my reason to stay clean.
Sure.
They were my purpose.
Sure.
I really call them my angels.
I got sober 6 months after my son was born.
Right.
So my son was born, and I remember coming home, and I was very much a functional alcoholic. I got up early every morning and I worked out and then went to my office. But then come lunchtime, cocktail after cocktail after cocktail until I passed out. And got married, and wife got pregnant right away. We had Alec, and shortly I would come home in the evenings, and I would try to carry the baby. I would try to hug him, and he would cry. He rejected me completely because he smelled the alcohol.
Right.
Okay, and he completely rejected me. And it's very interesting that a couple of months after I stopped drinking, I noticed how we connected and bonded so well.
Wow.
I mean, it was a completely relationship, and he became my purpose for life. You know,
Yeah.
in fact, 19 years later, he's a freshman in college. But it's very interesting, you know. And I heard this. This is not original. This is from Andrea Arlington, an upcoming guest on the podcast, who is Alexis Hines' mother, a Hollywood celebrity.
Yeah.
And she's going to be in the podcast here on Tuesday. And she was talking about how we remember when we go to our grandmother's house and we'd smell her cookies or smell her cooking, or how we remember that favorite uncle's cologne, or how
Right.
the same thing is with alcohol. The same thing is with our body odors. The same thing is children remember that.
Yeah.
And it either imprints a good memory in them or a bad memory in them. So even something as minute as we may not even think about, we are already preparing, ingraining, programming those children to be to recognize certain orders, to recognize certain behaviors, and they become to deem them acceptable.
Right.
And the injustices in some ways that we're doing to those children by our own behaviors.
By our own, yep.
So the fact that you were able to shift your life around and set an example and not continue an excellent journey of complete transformation, and not only transforming your life, but impacting the lives of thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
The beautiful thing is that as I began to heal and take and raise them, that was also the same time that I was exposed to Motivating the Teen Spirit. So
Okay.
I was doing my healing, and I was able to use what I was learning with MTS
To come
with
back and bring
them
to the children.
and give it to them. And so when we talked about, we have a lesson called the power of communication, and I was able to go through and really be mindful of what am I seeding to these children? What am I feeding them in my language, in my love, in my nurturing? And so I was able to really real time, practice what I was learning to do, and to be able to create, like, we have safe space walks now where we'll go through and we'll be like, all right, let's just go for a walk and let's create a safe space and let's just have a conversation, because they know what a safe space is. They are now 16, 14, and 13. And my niece, who's the oldest, she's got her permit. She's driving and a full-time, or not a full-time job, but has a part-time job as a hostess. And they remember those times. They remember the conversations that we have. And we still do, a lot of the activities. Although I'm not their father, their biological father, they're like my kids.
Yeah.
And we have that relationship. We have that connection. And they know that, if Uncle Matt says something, like, all right, he means it.
Yeah.
But they also know that I can be the safe space when they need an opportunity to talk to somebody other than their mom and dad.
Wow. So you have really made your mess a miracle.
Yeah. And I'm turning my mess into my message. And that's why I'm here. That's why I want people to understand that we're not our past. And that was the thing that I had to overcome, is that, wow. And this is the one thing that I'm so excited, and I'm not afraid to share who I was, because I know who I am.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful.
When you know who you are and who you are today, the past is the past.
Absolutely.
But there's lessons and there's things that you can gain from it, and there's opportunities. And I think that when people don't talk about it, we feel like we're alone. We're the only people that have felt this way. That I was just watching a news article on suicides. Mm-hmm. The suicide rate right now is double what homicides are. The suicide rates are higher than it's been since World War II, because so many people feel alone. And that's why it's important to share your story. That's why I'm on a mission to help other people share their stories.
Well, our story is a story of many. We're not unique.
Right.
We're not unique. There's 6 degrees of separation between all of us. And what happens is, the minute that you and I share our stories, we allowed others to speak up. We give them
Right.
the freedom. We give them the keys to their story, to be able to share their story. We created this platform because I went many years drinking and wasting my life, and I would build it up and destroy it and build it up and sabotage it because I never felt worthy. I never felt worthy, whether it was a relationship, whether it was a business, whether it was friendships, whatever it was. I would build it up and then destroy it because I never felt I deserved them. All this time I thought I was a problem, not realizing that I had a problem that I could overcome if I treated it, if I paid attention to it. Because just like we hear those external little voices, just like you kept seeing Lisa, the messages that kept coming to you, just like the universe kept bringing you around and trying to wake you up, eventually you were fortunate enough to be able to settle down within your own space and find the silence. And the universe connected everything, gave you your nieces and nephews to be able to take care of them, gave you motivated in the teens to be able to see your story, okay?
Right.
And align your story in order to guide other children along a path. The experience that you had lived, now you could share it with them, okay?
Right.
And guide them how to not live that kind of life.
Exactly.
Okay? And then take the tools that those kids were teaching you, take them over to your nephews. But a lot of us either live in the future or live in the past, and we never pay attention to our present.
What's happening? Yeah.
We never pay attention to the present. We don't silence ourselves enough to be able to say, what are my choices? What are my options?
Right.
You know, and when I'm equipped with my options and choices, then I'm able to be productive. But not productive for me, productive for the world.
And for moving your purpose forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where is Matt today?
So Matt has just taken a really huge leap, and it's a leap of faith. I believe God has put in my heart, and I say God, I'm not here to impose my belief on anybody else, a higher power, whatever you want to call it, but God has placed on my heart to help share the message of faith, of not faith in the sense of religion, but faith in yourself, faith in love, faith in your dreams. Just what does faith mean? And part of that journey is me stepping out in faith and leaving my full-time job. So I was full-time with Motivating the Masses and with Lisa. I'm still doing work with her as an independent contractor. So there are events that, I'll be doing and still co-facilitating with her in Speakers Mastermind coming up next month and, different things, but also sharing my message more. As you had said at the very beginning, my goal was to support Lisa, and to get her out there, and I learned the tools, and now it's time for me to come out and be in the front, and to share my message with the world, and to inspire, to continue to inspire people, and to show them that, there are tools, there are techniques, there are things that you can do to make a small micro step to changing your life. And that we don't have to do it all at one time. And I think that's where we distract ourselves, or we get discouraged because we want everything to change all at one time. And it's one day at a time, one moment at a time. And so I've been able to access those tools. And so let me share that. Let me share my story. And so that's where I'm at now. Is and Faith and Flow is the learning to stand in faith, to operate in flow, listening to spirit. Listening to be where I'm guided. And recently, real recently, realized that the big, huge vision. God said, okay, this is what you're doing. And you're going to develop a network that's going to inspire, that's going to empower, that's going to entertain. And when I looked at it, the human side of me was like, holy crap, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? And he said, start with this. Start with this one project, and once you start this, I'll open the next door, and I'll open the next door. And so I'm just like, all right, what are we doing? Where are we going? And
you're open to receiving.
Exactly.
Open to receiving.
Exactly.
Matt, what are your daily rituals? What do you do? You wake up in the morning, what do you do to keep the energy, the momentum, the flow going?
Prayer is the first thing. Prayer / meditation. I'm learning to meditate. I'm learning the tools of it. My mind runs 10 million miles a minute. So the slowing of the mind, practicing my breathing is what I'm learning is really helping me through meditation. I do a lot of journaling, a lot of writing. I free write.
Okay.
So I will sit with a piece of paper and just start to do
Whatever comes through.
whatever comes out, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden one idea sparks, and then it just flows. Just allowing myself to not block my mind, like what's coming in. I really believe that that's tapping into spirit, tapping into your higher power and what you're being guided to do. I am a night owl. I would prefer to start my day around 11 o'clock in the afternoon and then go till 3, 4 in the morning. I get inspired when I write or creatively. It happens between the hours of 11 o'clock at night to 4 in the morning for me. And so sometimes I'll take a nap at 3 and sleep till 7 at night, and then wake back up at 7 and then work all the way through the night. But a lot of it is I'm learning to appreciate reading. And I want to hear people's stories. I'm on this thing right now of where I want to read the stories of some of the media companies that are out there. How did they get started? What did they go through? Researching just people's journeys, like, it's so powerful. What were the lessons? When did it work and when did it not work? And what my goal in what I want to create is, I want to create a platform so we can sit down like this and be able to talk about your story of faith. What does faith look like for you? And so it's just really connection, and just I'm in this absorbing mode right now. Like, let me absorb and let me sit in silence.
Wow, that's powerful.
Let me just listen.
Where do you see yourself in 3 years?
Definitely, I have the media company has been formed. On the platform of sharing other people's stories. It's exciting, and it may sound kind of like a big, huge goal, but I really see having my own space where we're doing our own productions all the time. And it's not just my productions, but everybody else's who has a mission, that has a message, giving them the space to create. And pulling in partnerships, very strategic partners of, wow, I want you to go through and use this space to share your message and to create an impact, and let them be able to be a part of pulling their story out. I've always been a storyteller, and that's what I love about Lisa. She's an amazing storyteller.
Incredible storyteller.
And so she's honed my skills as a storyteller. And so I want to be able to help educate people to go through and to craft, not necessarily craft their message, but let me listen for what you're not saying. Ooh, tell me more about that. And allow for them to give them the creative space to be themselves, and then to share that with the world. And I also want to continue, I love working with youth. And so I want to be able to help youth fulfill their dreams. As an artist, whether it be behind the camera or as a sound engineer or in front of the camera as on-camera talent, create a space for youth to be able to get life skills that in a healthy environment of being supportive, but allowing them to do the work of their passion, and just create this just massive community. I'm really into this community, this tribe of people just
which is something that Lisa preached about a lot. Yeah.
Which is why we were a perfect fit.
Yes,
that's truly who I be.
Yeah.
I be that for my family. I be that for the friends. And sometimes it's a little annoying when you're the one that has to plan for everything. But at the same time, like, that just comes natural. And I want to create the space for people of creatives and heart-centered people that want to inspire, that want to empower, want to impact people.
Perfect. You talked about your rituals, and I want to challenge you a little bit in one of your rituals, because it's important. It's important in a movement that we live in today, moved and really impacted by social media. Everybody talks about the 5 or 6 little rituals that everybody does,
right,
that 1% does in order to be able to accomplish their success, and you do something that's a little bit different, and I just want to know why,
right,
to be able to understand.
Yep.
I understand why, okay, but I want our community to understand why you do it the way you do it. Most people recommend, for example, Robin Sharma has the 5 a.m. club.
Right.
Okay, so get up early, start your day early, and get everything knocked out. Highest, more productive day. You do it a little bit different.
Right.
You're a night owl.
Right.
Okay, and that works effective for you. How did you determine that, or
I think for me, I can tell you that it's the time of the day when I'm less distracted. People aren't texting, people aren't calling. I'm not interrupted, and I can allow myself to sit in silence and just connect to spirit.
Okay.
Connect and be in the flow.
Okay.
I have always been a night person. I like the silence. I like the space of just being connected. And I think that's probably what it would be, is that's the time that I'm the most connected, when I don't have the chatter
yeah,
of everybody. Now, because most places work 9 to 5 and have early mornings,
Sure.
I have to adapt to that. I have to adapt to their schedule. But then I modify it and being like, okay, if I have an 8 o'clock coaching call or an 8 o'clock conference call or meeting, I'm gonna get up 7 o'clock, do my stuff, get ready, do the meeting, work for a couple hours, and then take a nap
Take
and
your
then
nap.
recharge.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just less distraction.
Yeah.
And then I'm able to just be with whatever project I'm in, and I can just create. So I really wish that I was an early morning person.
Well, and the only reason I say that is because I'm people are hearing mixed messages. Early. I'm a morning person, but I've been a morning person all my life.
Right.
I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I have my routines. I like to do whatever I need to do, and a lot of times I may finish my routines and I may take a nap,
Right.
like you do.
Right.
So, and I'm also a firm believer that everybody's bodies and chemistries and connection with ourselves are completely different. What works for me does not work for you.
Exactly. And
We're-
I don't think there is the
Yeah.
one size fits all.
Exactly.
So you have to
We're all
find-
different creators.
You have to find what works for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
And part of that is experimenting, and
yeah.
discovering, do I like this? Does it work? No? Okay, great. Let's try something different.
Uh-huh.
But doing it in a way of no judgment towards yourself.
Uh-huh.
If it works, great. If it doesn't work, don't judge yourself for it. You tried something new. And I think we're afraid to try new things because of the fear of, is this going to work? Is this not? But I also know that when I'm excited about something, when I have a project, like when we do our events,
Yes.
we're up almost 18 hours.
Yeah, it doesn't matter
And-
what time it is. You're gonna get out because you're gonna date.
And you're
Yeah.
excited. You got that energy.
Yeah.
You're running on adrenaline and
Yeah.
you're flowing. So,
Yeah.
I really just feel like people have to research, learn the different ways, and discover what works for you.
Absolutely. Now, what are your favorite books? Anything in particular that you're reading today?
So I am Work the System is one of the books that I am currently reading, and I actually was just going on to Audible. I like listening to books. And so I was on Audible looking for like biographies and stories. I'm also actually really trying to connect with my Native American history.
Okay.
So the way of the warrior chiefs, what were their mentalities? And they're very simplistic, but very powerful. And so I'm reading on some of the Native American history, and what were some of the beliefs, spiritual beliefs. So what were some of their practices? The power of fire and the power of connecting to earth and talking and just looking at like our planets and how did they connect with this universe out there being so massive without the technology. Like we have so much technology and we don't know anything about the universe. I mean, we know a lot, but we barely touch the surface of what's out there. So how did these Native Americans go through and get their knowledge with what little technology they had at the time? They were so connected spiritually and mentally and emotionally to earth and to their power. Like, what is that? I want to harness that power. I want to tap into that. I'm Native American. I want to find out exactly what tribe I'm part of and really learn what did they do and how do I use that power now to impact and empower people.
Wow, that is powerful.
Yeah,
Powerful,
it's
powerful,
pretty dope.
powerful. Matt, it's been a real pleasure. I've really enjoyed
it's
this
been mine.
conversation. You're deep and you're profound, my friend.
Amen. Thank you.
where can people find you today in social media?
So you can find me at Facebook, Matt Gill, Mattgil. You can find me on Instagram, Mateo, Mateogil, on Instagram or Twitter. And then you can also go to www.faithandflow, the word and flow.com. Faith and Flow is the journey of what I'm creating, and sharing just this mission. So Instagram, Mateo, Mateogil, or www.faithandflow.com.
Matt, what will you tell your 18-year-old self?
You are enough. Love yourself. Don't be so hard on yourself. And just have fun. Like, have fun in this journey. There's so much that I know I missed out on because I was in judgment. Know that everything is going to be all right. And, that you're enough.
You are enough. Love yourself. No judgment on yourself. You heard it here. Matt Gill on Come Clean Podcast. Follow him at Mateo Gill on Instagram. Follow him on Facebook. And join us for our next episode. Thank you so much for being here today. Please follow us on Instagram, on Facebook. Go to our website, www.comingcleanpodcasts.com. Follow us and subscribe at iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, and our Heart Radio. Thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you for listening. And if you have not subscribed, please do so today. Thank you, and we look forward to having you in our next podcast.